refugee health and migration reporting. Definitely what they frame, all those pictures are from the training that we had, and we had this at one of the premises of the School of Public Health. Next slide. These were our trainers. Our lead trainer was Professor Orach. Many of us in this room, perhaps if you have been in the refugee world, you may know him. He's our refugee and health subject matter expert. He's been in the field for more than 30 years, writing and researching about refugee issues, particularly in Adjumani and other spaces. Kahesi was also one of ours, and we had a media trainer and editor, Wilson Kaija, my colleague Okea, and myself. The next slide, please. And this is a quote that I wanted us to pay attention to. Just before, my slides are just so quick and simple, but this is a quote that we picked from Okea. If we can read together. Words are not just passive descriptions, but powerful tools for action. And social change, especially when they are paired with critical reflection and a commitment to praxis, that is work and action, refugee health journalism at its best is precisely that kind of speech. Accurate, dignified, deeply contextual. It is not merely charity reporting, it is solidarity reporting. For anyone, given the wrong circumstances, can become a refugee. And solidarity, unlike sympathy, does not look down, it stands beside. When we write from that conviction, our stories do more harm, more than inform. They humanize, they connect, and remind us that telling the truth telling the truth well is in itself an act of justice. This is a comment from this young gentleman. He likes reading a lot. He's my colleague, he's my assistant in office. But when he wrote one of the pieces, I felt I should pull it out. And this was arising out of our training that we had. Next slide, please. So for context and why this training really mattered, many of you have really, from the last 2 days, we have appreciated that Uganda hosts all these perhaps close to or perhaps nearly 2 million refugees, and the majority of them are women and children. And what we get to appreciate is that while Uganda has a very interesting progressive refugee policy, some of the issues, especially the stories that we hear and we get to learn from the media, is largely told about the numbers have increased. Literally everyone who spoke about refugee issues in this space for the last 2 days has been talking about the numbers. Adjumani, we hold the largest number of refugees. Chaka, we hold this number of, and the same situation, I think even someone asked, how many refugees do we have in Kampala? So the numbers are usually what really we point out without really thinking about how do we put face and humanize these numbers. Are these just people, or they can actually be part of society and impact certain lives and engagements? Next slide, please. Some of the key highlights that we picked from the training was how the media has been depicting some of the refugee issues. These are our media, this is a leading daily. The president likes calling it the bad paper because it's very critical of government. But some of the media narratives that we have seen recently have been overlooking the issues around refugees and how they are very strong and resilient people, and perhaps not focusing on the urgency with which we should respond to their issues, and rather create alarmist headlines that actually send shockwaves to perhaps to stigmatize, but also hurt those that read, because anyone, like from the previous statement, anyone at any particular point can become a refugee. one of the papers, Uganda threatens to expel refugees. These are comments from a minister in charge of the docket in the country. And another one, donor cash dries up as refugees flood in. And even the word flood, it actually speaks to you in a sense that there are quite huge numbers, an influx, that anyone who is thinking critically in a country, how do people flood? They are trying to personify or objectify human beings and creating a picture of floods. If you can imagine the floods and how devastating they can be, then the light in which they are portraying the refugees might actually send shocks to the different spaces. Rita, next. These are also now, this is a government, perhaps 50% government owned. One says body part dealers target refugees in Uganda. Survivors say traffickers have markets along transit route, Masaka, Masindi, those things. And then another one, refugees move world to tears. I think this was probably more to cause for appeal. But again, what has the media in Uganda been capturing for us? We just picked in the training, we just picked these two leading dailies for our own consumption. Next slide, please. And this workshop basically was designed to change the perception about what the journalists really often look at and what they always think. And it was to empower journalists to tell stories that reflect the truth and humanity in health reporting. Next slide, please. This, of course, was organized by the School of Public Health in partnership with the Basque government, or ESCO Jale. Kaolariza, I have heard that one. And Farmamundi, of course, the Mexico Development Foundation and the African Humanitarian Action. The next slide. Some of the highlights, we trained 20 journalists, and 6 of them were ladies, and 14 were men. They were nationally representative, and I should say also majority of the trainees were from upcountry. We had teams from Adjumani, from Wayam, from Fort Portal, Hoima, and they were with us. But one of the key highlights that actually we got to appreciate during the training is that they also agreed that in the stories that they write, as journalists, they report issues of refugees as if they are they, rather than we as, human beings. And then we tend to victimize. The journalists said that there is a lot of victimization when they are reporting about the issues. They tend to paint pictures that victimize them, the refugees, and also dehumanize them, but also stereotyping some of the issues around refugee area, which in the end propagate probably misinformation and disinformation. Rita, next. And this is why one of the things that we picked from the training, why the voices of refugees matter in storytelling, in journalists as well. They put a face to abstract numbers, assuming from what the lady from, I think, OPM was telling us yesterday about the numbers and that are available in Kampala. I don't think some of these numbers are actually, most of them are actually creating impact in the communities in which they are actually staying. I have been part of the people that like experiencing some of the refugee, things that they do and products they produce, including enjoying their food in restaurants, exploring the culture in which they organize their events and support them in one way or the other. And you get a sense of fusion, of the blend of Uganda's culture and the refugee culture. And this is a very interesting experience that can actually add value to our tourism experience as a country. But we do not take to appreciate, and the media was actually looking at this in a sense that one of the things is that they have not been looking at things in light of showing what, these numbers could actually be bringing to Kampala, because they have businesses, they are adding to probably taxes, they are adding to the market of our resources, some of the things, the products that we have, the food and the rest of the things. And then, of course, when we include the refugees in our stories, it brings about inclusion, promote social cohesion. Imagine if we are telling the stories of refugees and none of us is a refugee and we cannot tell probably what they feel and how they think about what we are saying. And also driving policy actions and also counter anything that is stereotypical in nature. Rita, next. Some of the key learning themes that we got, perhaps maybe what I should say is that these sessions of ours were very practical. We had case studies and peer learning, and we had a dialogue amongst ourselves. But one of the key things that we got was that we would need to center humanity in refugee reporting. Whenever journalists are doing their work, it is important to center humanity, but also incorporate ethical decision-making, as well as promote consent, ask for permission from the different persons they are writing about, and perhaps even explain to them in case the stories and issues they are sharing could actually have repercussions that they may not be aware of, even after telling you what they have told you and for you think you are running for a big story. And then, of course, reporting with accuracy and dignity, as well as contextualizing what they are reporting about. And then tackling issues of stereotypes through language and framing, localizing. And one of the things that kept emerging was that refugees here in our local communities, people have different names they label them. And these names, actually, some of them are actually very stigmatizing. In my area where I come from, in Ankole and Ruchiga area, the refugees are called Empunji. The Banyankole call it Empunji, and I think the Baganda call it Abagwira or something like that. And I think I have also heard from Toro, people call them Empunzi or something like that. Meaning they are the people in need, people running away from whatever they are running from. But the way the cultural and language, language is culture. The way language and its own undertones bring weight to the interpretation of the things that we are saying, it means a lot. And we thought, as media highlights some of these stories, it is very critical and important for the media to be able to utilize some of the language that is polite and more human and also very comparing to the people. And then, of course, conflict-sensitive reporting, as well as solutions-driven storytelling. Rather than telling us that refugees have flooded perhaps a facility or they are stretching whatever resources, how about we tell stories of how the refugees coming in this particular place have actually enabled government to bring forward some resources to this particular area. That because of the refugees in this area, perhaps we have the Basque country and other entities and other NGOs coming through to extend some services to the communities that are supporting the refugees or hosting the refugees. So we thought storytelling could actually take different perspectives and bring forward. Next, Rita. Next. So some of the lessons learned. One, what I should say, refugees' voices, we learned that they bring truth, humanity, and dignity into reporting. And in fact, one of the key quotes that came from the training was that when journalists tell stories with empathy and truth, they strengthen accountability and compassion. And so we felt like, in interest of moving forward from the training, we need to strengthen collaboration between academia, media, and humanitarian actors to be able to appreciate each one, to know which role they bring to the table to ensure that refugee health and welfare issues are captured very well and documented. but also improve understanding of refugee health issues, as well as a public health concern, but also as a human rights issue. This was very, very much pointed out during the training, but also establish a foundation for a community of practice and peer mentorship. And I think colleagues Kiakobo will tell you that we have already established a network of journalists and we continue to build on it. And we are hoping to build that network that thinks and, with compassion about issues of refugees, but also have passion around them. And also 20 journalists were trained on ethical and context-driven humanitarian reporting. Next. Our commitment as a school, but also as the people who attended this training, is to nurture a generation of journalists to report with heart, evidence, and integrity, but also ensuring that refugee voices are not just heard, but also understood. The previous, I think, speaker, one time, I think it was Olivia Nachsita who mentioned that when they went in communities and they were asked, what do you need? And the people said, we want milk. And it only would take you who is taking humanitarian response to appreciate the needs of these communities rather than throwing them what you think is actually what would help. Of course, we appreciate that these could be in a catch-22 situation, but sometimes we need to actually hear them and understand where they are coming from. And only change begins when we tell stories that actually restore dignity. It was one of the things that we actually captured and felt very much. In the corner is a group of journalists and communications personnel that attended our training. And I think in the middle is one of the panelists who was presenting, and one of the, I think, journalists from Radio Purchase, I think in Gulu, with us during the training. Next, Rita, I think I should be winding up. But these are some of the critical issues that we highlighted as among the things that we thought are actually pertinent for journalists to come across or perhaps to tackle. One is the issues around policy. These are some of the things that we thought journalists could continue, adding flavor and perhaps tackling. Issues of resettlement, issues around feeding, things to amplify, issues around family dynamics. There are child-headed families, there are different, people. Issues about health, security, social integration, and perhaps the history that comes with the people that have. And then, of course, the other one is business. There are some refugees that are actually taking on business and thriving, and some of our people are in fact even learning and being employed by even people that are refugees. Some of us enjoy CJs and other things, and some of these things are very important. Farming, some of the refugees are involved in farming. Social services, host communities have their own issues that we can actually perhaps go in and dig as journalists. Vulnerabilities, self-reliance, as well as urban-rural dynamics, as well as agency. The photos that you see are taken from a Jumani refugee settlement. They were actually taken, I think, last year from our communications team, but as part of one of the projects that Professor Orach is working on, especially around, I think, climate change and how it is affecting the refugees and how refugees are coping in that particular area. Next, Rita. Emerging priorities. I think this should be my last slide. What we need, and perhaps what we need to request our funders and the different actors in this space, is that we need to continue training and mentoring journalists on humanitarian reporting. Because this country, from experience, I've been a journalist for 5-6 years before I joined communications work. From experience, these are not, if I may use this language, I hope the MC won't run away from me. the refugee issues are not sexy. In the context of Uganda, the Ugandan media likes perhaps sensational reporting, but also they don't like serious things. And that's why they will humanize and actually dramatize most of the things. That's why you realize, if you are a watcher of TV, I stopped subscribing to TV, you will notice that 70% of the things that you are seeing on your TV is either politics, or it is sports, or it is music, or it is whatever drama that you are seeing. And when you look at attention given to the issues affecting society and communities that are thriving, you know, it is a very small portion. And until and in that aspect, because it is driven by the market forces and the economics, that means that issues like these of refugees slip through. And I think we need to drum up action. And one of the actions that we can drum for support for refugees is by empowering journalists to be able to tell more stories, so that everyone gets to appreciate the issues, and perhaps those with hearts can actually come to the rescue of because there were very many issues that were raised here. Funding is going and everything is reducing. But I think if we empower journalists to tell stories better, we could attract some attention of the people who allocate resources in these spaces. We also agreed and perhaps noted that if these journalists could be given small grants to write stories, to go to these particular spots where we have refugees and profile some of the stories around them, especially positive stories that portray, how do you call it? Not positive living, but coexistence, and how Uganda is being able to appreciate and, you know, accommodate these refugees, and how some of refugees are actually transforming lives in spaces where they are. It could actually be very great. And of course, with everyone and every stakeholder in the building, if the donors can accept that we get some of the journalists supported, we would be glad to have you to provide some of the information that journalists would be looking for. At the end of the day, we need to tell the story better, and that is more data-driven and impactful. And we also think we need to create stronger partnerships with universities and the media, the Ministry of Health, OPM, gender, and other humanitarian agencies, that to have coordinated messages that journalists can actually appreciate these messages better, so that OPM does not speak this and then someone else speaks something else. You create conflict and tension in the population at the end of the day. And then the other one is creation of a media network on refugee and migration, which we have already embarked on. And we think from that, we can be able, with your support, everyone, we can be able to move. Maybe my final note that I should make mention, in reference to what, again, someone mentioned in the previous sessions, is that refugee issues, and perhaps anything in the country to attract attention, most of them that I have noticed have had to first go in the media, run there, and either they have gone there either in a crisis, and then it causes people to sit and start discussing, and perhaps even allocate resources for either an emergency or something. I am very sure you know, those of you who have been here with us, you know that before even the Chitezi issue happened, there were issues around debates, reports being written about the situation, until a tragedy happened that actually everyone started running around. Some of these things are actually always highlighted in small bulletin radio stations, are making mention of different things. And I think we need as one voice in this seminar to appreciate that actually media is a very critical component to enhance and improve the work that we do. So from me and the team that organized the seminar, this is partly what we had picked from the engagement, and the media colleagues were very excited, and we look forward to even equipping and empowering more and building a network of those that can help us tell the story better. Thank you so much. So, yes, Yakobo.
All right, thank you. The video is ready. So I would like to introduce to you Silent Noise. Silent Noise is a narration of two memoirs. A memoir by Bilkis and a memoir, Bilkis, stand up. A memoir by Anne Flores. These are stories they have written. We took a leaf from something we learned from Euskadi and decided to actually put it into a book. So these are stories of what they do every day. It is an account of what Africa Humanitarian Action and the MESCO and Farmamundi describe as accompaniment of legal survivors. Are they able to switch off the lights? I want the effect to be very good. Well, if you're not able to, are you able to? All right, play the video.
A constant deafening noise that prevents justice. In many places, including Uganda, violence is not just excused. It's woven quietly into proverbs, into rituals, and into expectations. It is a world where men believe it's acceptable to beat their wives as a form of discipline. In Uganda, a shocking near-universal violence plagues women and girls. National surveys reveal that nearly all Ugandan women have experienced some form of physical or sexual violence since the age of 15. For many, marriage itself becomes the site of systematic abuse. 1 in 5 ever married women report experiencing physical violence, and 1 in 5 report experiencing sexual violence. It begins with quarrels over firewood, a broken hoe, or a sack of beans. It ends with women like Sarah beaten to death by her husband, leaving 3 children behind. Meanwhile, thousands of defilement cases are recorded annually, exposing how Ugandan adults and girls face systematic sexual violence that destroys their future. Official statistics are a vast underestimate of the actual prevalence of SGBV, masked by silence and stigma. Justice systems often fail survivors through systematic barriers, inadequate protection, lengthy processes, and traditional oppression. These obstacles ensure violence thrives unchecked. While lifetime violence figures have seen a cautious decline from 2016 to 2022, there is an alarming contradiction. The proportion of women experiencing domestic violence in the past year has risen. This paradox highlights the persistent and evolving nature of the crisis. This is not just a Ugandan issue, it is a universal truth. 1/3 of women globally, billions of lives, have experienced physical and or sexual violence. These are not distant statistics, they are stories. To truly understand this crisis, we must center the survivors' voices and lived experiences. We introduce to you Bilkis, a legal assistant in urban Kampala.
Well, Bilkis, I'm a lawyer. I did my LLB at Islamic University in Uganda. I did a diploma in legal practice at Uganda Law Development Center. I was awarded with a practical certificate from there, and I enrolled to the High Court. Right now, I'm a legal assistant working with Africa Humanitarian Action. I mainly deal with GBV cases. I help these vulnerable women and children access justice in different forms. I work with them every step from the time they report their case to when we at least acquire a win.
And next is Florence, who works in Chakatu refugee settlement in Chegelu.
My name is Akelo, Anna Florence. Commonly I use the name Anna, and I'm a Ugandan by nationality, from the eastern part of the country in a district called Choro district. Professionally, I'm a lawyer by profession. I hold a bachelor's of law degree from Islamic University in Uganda and a postgraduate diploma in legal practice from Law Development Center.
We follow their lives as they move on this path, documenting the reality on the ground through their own notebooks.
So legal accompaniment basically is moving with the survivor step by step. From the time the survivor approaches you, maybe you're in the field, in a certain village, maybe Bukere, or maybe you're at office and the survivor walks into your office and maybe tells you, Anna, I was raped, I need assistance. Or maybe a survivor of assault tells you, Dada, I was assaulted, I need your help. She comes in bruised, maybe with wounds, and then that is when the accompaniment starts. Of course, when she walks in, we give her space to speak out, we listen to her, we document her details, and then whatever assistance we offer depends on what the survivor wants. Well, the survivor can come in and tell you, I was beaten by my husband, and I need your help. So you give the survivor the options available. Should we go to police and file a complaint? Should we arrest him? Should we offer counseling to him?
The narratives of Naviye, Agnes, Sarah, and Amina are not isolated incidents. They are the human faces of a global pattern, and their stories mirror the very statistics we cite.
This role has, first of all, it has made me realize that me being a legal expert it's not what it is. It's not something that should be and then it stops there. There is more to it. There is more to what you're supposed to do. You have to be an advocate. Because now you are speaking for these people. It has also made me realize that there's a lot of limited access to justice. People take justice as a privilege, which is not something like a privilege. It's a right for everyone. And it's also need to know that we need to preserve the dignity of these people because they deserve their dignity to be their voice. There are many people who cannot access something, but once you give them hope that I can be your voice and you can see light at the end of the tunnel. Like, I'm walking with you every step and I'm going to make sure I hold your hand. And at the end of it all, we are going to bow our heads together. It's something that is really helping me with all this.
Across all contexts, violence thrives because communities normalize it through a victim-blaming shame culture and a refusal to acknowledge the problem. It's in the courthouse whispers saying a pregnant 14-year-old survivor could not endure. In the market laughter that says it's better to keep quiet. This silence protects perpetrators, isolates survivors, and prevents accountability. Combating SGBV requires an ongoing struggle against multiple interconnected systematic forces. Patriarchy, where elders insist marriage is endurance. Economic inequality, where a woman is beaten over firewood to buy food for her children. Legal failures, where court judgments are stalled for months. And cultural norms, where family members demand a survivor draws her case to avoid shame. Individual commitment is the starting point. Believe survivors. Challenge victim-blaming language. Refuse to accept violence as normal. Your daily choices create a ripple effect that can transform cultures. But individual action must be matched with global commitment. We must build movements that address root causes through systematic change, transform norms, ensure accountability, and empower economically. This is the task of our generation, to transform the silent noise into a roar for justice, break the silence, refuse to accept violence as normal.
All right, thank you very much. So we have translated our accompaniment, Where the Ushers, into a book. and we have a copy for everyone here today. That is our presentation. If you have any questions, you'll ask after you've read the book. Please read the book. Don't just keep it.
Thank you so much. I think you should give them a round of applause again. They have been able to demonstrate to us that it is very incredible to document the journeys that we go through and perhaps the impact that we are creating. And I think it is a lesson to some of us who are thinking about or is speaking without writing. Thank you so much, Jacobo, and all the councils for the wonderful experience you have shared with us. At this particular moment, we have just 2 speeches and we don't want to hold you for long. We're just going to request the representative from KCCA to just come and give us a few comments, after which our Deputy Dean will come through to share some closing remarks, and then we shall start the dance. Our cultural group, I'm told, is already in the building, so they will be able to offer us some cultural dances, some entertainment, as we reflect on the day and perhaps the past 2 days. If we can get a representative from KCCA, please come and take the floor. Thank you. Okay, just in case okay, just in case she's not in, I think it is my singular honor and privilege to request the Deputy Dean, who has managed to grace our occasion with his presence right from the start of the conference, but also given us the blessing to be here for the past 2 days, to come and wrap this up and share with us some reflections from the academia side and what we can do more. And I am very sure that there is a lot that we can do together to impact the lives of refugees. Oh, okay. Thank you, Prof. You can come and first say hi to these people so that we know that then Prof can close this. Thank
you. All protocol observed. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, my name is Kemirembe Maria Gorit Charlotte. I'm a parish supervisor and of Kampala Central Division and a family planning coach for Kampala Central Division, the lead coach of family planning. I'm delighted to be here and happy. We've had very good and meaningful deliberations. There's been a lot of learning and we have really taken note of things that we can do better and improve as a group. I'd like to thank AHA, UNHCR, for the collaboration that we always have. We never miss any of their engagements. We are always in the community together to serve the refugees in all points. In case we have problems with interpretation in all ways, as we are providing medical services to these people. We engage in all their outreaches, any service that comes. We know that the refugees have a special group of people and they need special attention and all that. So we engage them and they always engage us all the time and we are working together. My message here today and the message that the DMO, Dr. William Richard of the DMO of Kampala Central Division and the Director of Public Health is that we continue working together to serve the refugees better and the refugee community and the special groups better than we can do. We can overcome the challenges that we still have, especially around interpretation. We have like 1 or 2 interpreters at Chisenyi Health Center 4, which is one of the biggest facility that serves most of the refugees. Over 40,000 are served at least annually. So we face a very big challenge in case an interpreter is not around. You find that someone needs a family planning service, or they need SGBV services, but then we don't have an interpreter and the person is just there making signs, showing this, trying to do signs to show us. And so we may need to increase on the number of interpreters in our working space for the area of health in service provision so that we can be able to serve them much better. I see someone is clapping so that we increase on the number of interpreters in Chisenyi because I always see her there, always struggling, and there is no way we can help them better if we don't understand the language. So if we can improve that, that would be much better. And then also regarding reporting, this is a very important area. We refugee specific data. We can have a broad aggregated data, but then we cannot really screen out. If you say you gave implants, how many refugees received particular implants? We have not yet reached that point. We are only able to identify national and refugees. And yet our registers for the Ministry of Health have been updated and we can be able to fix and tick who is getting a particular service. But we need capacity building for health workers to help us get that information very much. We need this. We also need information that is coming from the communities. Please utilize the DMO's offices in all divisions of Kampala Central. Of KCCA. Utilize those offices. Give us the community reports. I know we have a lot of work that we are doing in gender-based violence in the community, but we don't get those reports. Please report and let us be in the know, and we can try to improve and mitigate most of the things together. We are still advocating teenage pregnancies to be reduced among special groups more, but then as a whole entire thing. There's a lot that we can do together. I can't say much, I can't say more, but thank you very much for letting us be here, and we'll still work together to serve the community better. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I think you see what we are going to miss. You should add her some hand claps. Thank you so much for coming through, Maria. We are very grateful. I am told the team that is going to give us entertainment is ready. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to Professor Elizeus Rutebemberwa. You will agree with me that he is the tallest man in this population that is available in this building. Thank you, Professor.
Thank you very much. Once again, I take the pleasure of representing my dean, Professor Rodo Wanyeze, who is still away. But is with us in spirit. I stand on the protocol already given, partners, colleagues, students, ladies and gentlemen. Over the last 2 days, we have shared deep and meaningful reflections on what truly means to protect the health and dignity of refugee and host communities. Actually, the problems of refugees are not only for refugees, even for host communities. I have close interaction with some of these refugee areas, and they say that when you go to the Romans, you do as the Romans do. Sometimes they come and they find the challenges here. So I was happy you also talked of the host communities, and also the presentations from the students have really showed us the potential of how we can bring this to the fore. There was a participation of researchers, government, humanitarian organizations, and the refugee communities themselves. So this really reminds us that we need one another, we need to listen to one another, and the strength of this gathering is in its diversity. Sometimes you ask yourself, why don't people talk? And even when they know the same language, they fight, and at the end they sit down and talk. So I think we need to understand that talking is one of the things that we have as human beings, and one of the things that can alleviate a lot of problems. Of course, the topic of refugee health continues to be as relevant today as before. As you said, it's not just the numbers, and sometimes statistics hide things. It is actually the people. And it's only when you see people moving as people that you actually see that they are suffering. These are people who could be you, who could be your mother, sister, brother, or father. And maybe we need to find out why is it only women, mostly women and children in these refugee areas. So it's not that in those communities they are not men. Sometimes actually that the men did not have an opportunity of even becoming refugees. So we need to also reflect on the loss these people have of not having their husbands and their sons around. So this seminar reminds us of the power of collaboration between academic, humanitarian actors, researchers, because it is in these collaborations that we tackle crucial issues such as sexual and reproductive health and gender-based violence. What we have seen is a partnership not only in producing data but also building capacity. Of course, when I was young, they used to say that you are the leaders of the future. But others told us that no, you are not the leaders of the future. You are the leaders of today. And I think we shouldn't see students as the researchers of the future, but also as the researchers of today, so that they appreciate the burden and responsibility they hold on to their shoulders. We appreciate partners from SGBV for believing in the power of local research and investing resources in this study. We thank the African Humanitarian Action, Farmamundi, and the Mexico Development Foundation. These are very difficult names. They are Italian, they are what? So maybe we shall get the African translation for them. For the mentorship, hands-on collaboration, and steadfast support to both students and communities, the Office of the Prime Minister and our colleagues from UN agencies, thank you for continually creating space for academic partnerships that strengthen Uganda's refugee system. So, to our students, thank you very much. I hear you did a good job. I think this was just the beginning. You keep in that space and make sure that what you have started, you can continue up to the end. And for us as Makerere University, we remain committed to partnerships to advance public health, and we will take up some of these resolutions you have said and see how we can push the boundaries beyond where they are. And as we close, I wish to thank the organizing team for the dedication and hope next time we will keep time better, and our partners from SGBV for your continued friendship and trust. Let us carry forward the lessons and spirit of collaboration we have witnessed here into the future work. So it's always good to meet. And we don't meet only to listen. We only meet to learn and see how we can move it forward. One time I attended a workshop by a WHO team, And they said in WHO, one of the resolutions for the workshop is to have the next workshop. And I hope we are fixed when the next meeting will be. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor. I think he deserves more hand clap. Professor, some of the things were beyond our making, especially in terms of time, but we are so much glad and delighted that each one of you has had a chance to stay with us to this point. Someone help me alert these people of entertainment so that we get going. I think once they give us a few shots, can join in and dance. We want to experience our culture. And like I told you, we have the School of Liberals and Performing Arts of Makerere University, popularly known as the MDD those days. But I am also told that it has been able to produce people, very powerful people, including presidential hopefuls. So it is a very big space. Don't take it for granted. Thank you so much, team. The floor is yours. Yes, you need the microphone. You want one or how many?
Yeah. Kenkana wa mama kamege njovu, kenkana wa basajja bannanga kamege njovu, kube ngoma nyimba kamege njovu, kube ngalo nyimba kamege njovu, kyokka kenkana wa banga kamege njovu, kenkana wa mbuza kamege njovu, basajja bakabaka mukube ngoma, bantu bakabaka mukube ngalo, owange munnange omweyagalire, abanyumirwa amagana mukube ngalo, abanyumirwa kabaka mukube ngalo, abagala obuganda mukube ngalo, basajja bannanga kamege njovu, aliwa mama omweyagalire, mama kamege njovu, basajja bannanga kamege njovu, owange munnange omusamandege, waliwa mama omusamandege, omusamandege mulungi namulaba, owange munnange omweyagalire, aliwa mama omweyagalire, ndaba kucha balungi benayimbira, nesime gwimbira banjagala, owange munnange kamege njovu, kenkana wa mama kamege njovu, owange mama kamege njovu, kube ngoma nyimba kamege njovu, ndabira wa mama omweyagalire, mama kamege njovu, omusamandege mulungi namulaba, owange mama kamege njovu, kyokka kenkana wa bange kamege njovu, kenkana wa mama kamege njovu, mama kamege njovu, owange mama kamege njovu, mama kamege njovu, laba akakona kamege njovu, laba akagulu akamege njovu, lengera katwe akamege njovu, owange munnanga kamege njovu, mama kamege njovu, akakaza akampi akalinga empiki ketulese mu ddiiro kabazinire, akasajja akampi akalinga empiki ketulese mu ddiiro kakuba ngoma, ono okufaanana taata teyazza musango, laba tunulira amaaso n'ebwe n'ono okufaanana nnyina teyazza musango, laba tunulira enviiri n'ebwe yali, bwamwenya bw'ati n'ebwe yali, tunulira ennyindo n'ebwe yali, bw'aseka bw'ati n'ebwe yali, gwerengere kiwato n'ebwe yali, ono okufaanana nnyina teyazza musango, laba tunulira emmiiri n'ebwe yali, owange mama kamege njovu, aliwa mama kamege nango kufana na tata sasa musango berengere chifuba ne bwali bwenyenya bwati ne bwali berengere mikono ne bwali wange mama kamege mama kamege ha mama kamege nyovu mama kamege wange mama kamege nyovu mama kamege nyovu mama kamege nyovu inomugu yesala banungi nababi kwegala kukulundula wange omuneza kuba ngala byogikuba lukwakwanyo njagala ove ku ngala byogende mu bidongo yesala banungi nababi omwoyo mulondo inomugu yesala banungi nababi omwoyo mulondo kwegala kukulundula wange batane zikolo mulembe jagalo kubembere no bidoga yesana balungi nababi kuyagala go na mago yesana balungi nababi omwoyo mulundo kuyagala go kulondola wange emperekera namunene perekera masotara perekera wange emperekera namunene monange perekera masotara wange perekera namunene monange perekera masotara perekera namunene perekera monange perekera namunene monange perekera masotara wange ato moleza kuwe mboto jikwado kwayo zibande zikuru mulembe perekera namunene perekera masotara mbojo we kolintia bigambo bisemerize nyanya ekiro kinu semeriro nyariana ekiro kinu kyokuzana semeriro nyariana obugano mu butere muno nyariana obugano mu butere nyariana ekiro kinu kya Uganda semeriro nyariana kiro kinu semeriro nyowe nyariana ebinyage mu bisambe bera Nyerena, yeah, semere. Nyerena, owe munyero kambireta. Nyerena, ave munyero mubagambe. Nyerena, ave taro mubagambe muno. Nyerena, kiro kinu kyokuzena dora. Nyerena, Nyerena, kiro fina machenora. Gambiro gambiro down. Gambo bisemerize kino kyokuzana dora nyana semerize nyarana bojo we kuleta semerize nyarana kino kyokusamba semerize nyarana abe binyaga mu bisambe muno obugara mu butere nyarana kino semerire nyarana bojo we koneta nyarana Tanyawe Yelena kino salamani Yelena kino kyokuzana bera ko hawa bugara mu butere nyerana obugoma mu butere bera nyerana bojo we koreta semerize nyerana sama tugende nyerana kari kino semerire Narira kakongoro moto Narira kakongoro moto Narira kakongoro moto Kwasi agarige Narira kakongoro moto Kwasi agarige Narira kakongoro moto Kwasi agarige Narira kakongoro moto Narira kakongoro moto Kwasi agarige 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 Narira kakongoro moto Narira kakongoro moto Narira kakongoro moto Narira kakongoro moto Kwasi agarige Narira kakongoro moto Narira kakongoro kakakolo dora. Osambe sambe tugende dora. Iwe dora. Osambe sambe tugende dora. Iwe dora. Kiwe yokeje kubuta kire dora. Iwe dora. Iwe osambe sambe binyege dora. Iwe dora. Homo do moido kuzana dora. Iwe dora. Iwe obaita toizo kuzana dora. Iwe dora. Iwe osambe sambe binyege dora. Iwe dora. Osambe sambe tugende dora. Iwe dora. Iwe kwa nyoro toizo kuzana dora. Iwe dora. Iwe abatoro toizo kuzana dora. Iwe dora. Iwe oboto sambe binyege dora. Iwe dora. Iwe akezo kubuta kire dora. Iwe dora. Iwe oboto samboru nyege dora. Iwe dora. Iwe sambe sambe tugende dora. Iwe dora. Iwe takizo kubuta kire dora. Iwe dora. Iwe oboto sambe binyege dora. Dora. Iwe sambe tugende dora. Iwe dora. Sambe sambe binyege dora. Iwe dora. Iwe zakizo kubuta kire dora. Webare muno. Thank you.